Well, I'd say that music is very important because there are certain skills in there that they learn, especially things like the power of practice. Rehearsing, say you're working on a piece of music, going over it, the repetition, getting it wrong, working on it a bit more, getting it wrong, working on it a bit more, teaches the patience and the perseverance, and that translates definitely to later in life.
Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. I'm so delighted to have introduced to you Mark Davis. Mark is a remarkable inspiration and music teacher. He's been teaching for over 10 years in primary and secondary education, and he has some fascinating insights that I can't wait to share with you. And if you listen to the interview, you'll just hear that the recorder just started going and we were just in a normal, natural conversation. And I decided not to stop because Mark was in his element, and I can't wait to share it with you because he is such a success story and he shares and emanates success in such a powerful way. Mark Davis is the music teacher that you wish you had, and I certainly wish I had. So let's dive straight into the interview and let's share his insights with you on education, thoughts and inspiration. You must have quite a good listening ear to be able to receive that sound and just know that it's going to resonate with the children and how their voices will sound on it. Is that something that you've learned along the way, or is that something that comes quite instinctive to you?
Yeah, I think it does come quite instinctive. I often, when I hear a song and I imagine what would that sound like with loads of, say, kids' voices on it instead of that single solo voice. Say it was, say, Ed Sheeran, the one with the wedding song that he did that was really popular with weddings, Thinking Out Loud, the Ed Sheeran one. How does it go? When my legs don't work like they used to before, that one, and you can't get you off, that one. Baby, I will be loving you till we're 70. Do you remember that one? Yeah, that was it. I can't really sing today, but that one. I knew when I heard that would translate well to kids' voices because it's just got a smooth melody. It tends to be the ones that are quite gentle and quite bordering on classical, you know, because they've got a very, very calm melody. Whereas the ones that are more edgy, like say a Michael Jackson song like The Jam or something like that may not translate so well because that's all about the strength of a song like that comes from Michael Jackson's kind of inflections that he can do with his voice, which would be lost if all the kids were trying to do it.
How does that song go? So I can just kind of understand it.
Like The Jam when he's singing like go with it, The Jam. You know too much. That one, The Jam. That wouldn't really work, I don't think. I mean, it would sound odd, you know, but it would probably sound quite funny and like, you know, parents would love to, you know, would parents who were like Jackson fans would recognise it and they would probably think that's quite sweet. Hearing kids singing it, but it would just sound a bit weird. I don't think the kids would be able to get the phrasing right and things like that. And like certain songs, but I tend to go for songs that have a clear melody, and a lot of songs from musicals, say the Disney songs, things like Let It Go, Moana, How Far I'll Go, you know that one, like How Far I'll Go, and songs like that, they tend to translate the best to children's voices, the Disney songs, and I like those songs. They're really, really good songs from musicals, Andrew Lloyd Webber, things like songs from, say, Cats or Joseph and his Technicolor Dreamcoat and stuff like that, all the musical stuff, Disney musicals, Andrew Lloyd Webber, that stuff tends to work best for kids' voices.
I did a speech on something to do around success and growth mindset the other day, and I spoke about that song, Let It Go.
Yeah.
And just how it translates into so many different factors about life.
Yes, it does.
And I was just like,
it's cleverly written. Really, the lyrics are, you know, this whole point of, you know, really not holding yourself back, because they say the biggest person that holds you back in life is yourself. I mean, if you let it go, you will realise how much power you are. They say we often don't let ourselves go because we fear our power, because subconsciously you know how powerful you are and you fear that power. And the people who've really flown are the ones who've learned to overcome that fear of their own power. Your Michael Jacksons, your Elvis Presleys, your, you know, your Tina Turners, your Madonnas, all those people who just, you know, and obviously the football world, your David Beckhams, your George Bests, and all those kind of people who just know how good they are and are not afraid to show it. They're not afraid of any backlash from releasing their power.
I think we need more songs like that for adults, because I just find myself like around the house when the kids are not here, listening to Frozen and like, let it go.
No, that's great song. Let it go.
It's like, but it's absolutely true. Like, we just need to let go of our fears, let go of our inhibitions sometimes, and just break through those barriers, transition, right?
Yeah, you do. You know, I mean, we often, I think they say, you know, one of the biggest things that also holds us back is, say, fear of failure. You know, so they say there's the two. It's kind of, it's a strange one, because there's the fear of success and the fear of failure. And that fear of success is linked to that holding yourself back and not letting it go. The fear of, because you're afraid you'll be too successful. The person once said in a speech, he said one of the reasons why he took so long to get the career he wanted was because he was afraid that if he was successful, maybe he couldn't handle the new pressures and the new demands made upon him, and so he would hold himself back because he wasn't sure if he wanted to be successful. And
it's so funny you say that, because I was talking to my friend yesterday, and that's one of the hang-ups that I've had in the past and that I've had to break through, is that fear of being not successful, but the fear of being perceived as successful. Because when I was growing up, I grew up with a sort of a notion that if you're successful, you're bad, and you know, that kind of don't show people that you're successful kind of mindset.
Right.
So powerful.
Yes.
And that song, Let It Go, is just such like a breakthrough song.
Yes.
Yeah, it's.
That's right. That's that's a really interesting point. This idea that I saw also in a. I don't know if you've ever seen that video, The Secret. I don't know. It's about the law of attraction, based on that theory in the psychology of achievement. One of the big things that are coming through is this belief about the law of attraction. And one of the guys was saying that when he was growing up, it took him a while to become, you know, to really strive. He always wanted to like be a millionaire, you know, and he's now a millionaire, but he said he could have been there a lot sooner in life, because he was always grown up by his parents to believe what you said about rich people were somehow ripped people off and somehow got there by unscrupulous means, and therefore if you are rich, then to pursue richness or to pursue success means that you are a bad person to want it, and if you get it, then you are definitely a bad person. You know what I mean? You know,
it's crazy.
It's crazy.
I literally had that hang up for many years.
For many years, yeah. And it's crazy. I think a lot of people do. I think good people have that belief. We're just told, I don't know, society just kind of, I think it's because society kind of promotes that the people that you know, you never see, like, say, the manager of, say, BMW. I wouldn't know what he looked like. All those people are kind of behind the scenes, but when there's somebody who's like someone like Dr. Dre or Snoop Dogg or 50 Cent, who promote kind of bad kind of like negativity, guns and drugs and you know, bad things, all of their money and wealth is flaunted, so it subconsciously teaches us that all of that wealth, you know, is associated with bad stuff. You never see on MTV Cribs, you know, the manager of BMW, the manager of Ferrari, the manager of Lloyd's Bank. You know, you never see those guys. It tends to be the people who are, you know, on TV, you know, battering their wives and all that. You know, it's always the negative people you get to see.
There's often this narrative of, I came from complete trash.
Yeah.
And I've made success of my life.
Success. Yeah.
Which is great. However, sometimes it can be it can be unbalanced in terms of showing the other side as well, that you don't actually have to come from eating out of trash cans in order to be successful, which is subconsciously what we learn when we see these things repeatedly without seeing the other elements of success.
That's right, good point. Yeah, we're constantly showing the rags to riches story, and we're never showing the middle class to riches story. You know what I mean? Because not all of us came from the gutter, as it were. Some of us came from normal standard living, as it were. But I think that often, they say jealousy is just such a big part of society at the moment, and often we're afraid to be successful because we're afraid of other people being jealous and what they might do to us because they're jealous. Because we've seen how jealous people are when we've had relatively nothing, and people have been, if you have just like I bought I had a car stereo. It was sort of like a £200 car stereo, but one day I came into my car and it was gone. It had been stolen. That was only a couple of months back, and I just think that's just a cheap little stereo. What would they have done? What would they do to me if I had a Ferrari parked outside the car? You know what I mean? It's like, and it's kind of, when you think people tear you down when you have virtually nothing. I'm just thinking, say I was rich and famous and had a 10-bedroom mansion. You know what I mean? Just think, then what would people be saying about me? You know what I mean? And I think that one of the things that we need to teach, like what the other teacher was saying, what we need to teach in schools is learning to get over these negative emotions. When you see someone, aspire to it instead of hating them for it and being jealous of them. I think it's important that we learn to aspire to success instead of pulling it down and hating it. The number of people that say, "Oh, Justin Bieber's rubbish, he's rubbish." Well, I said to the kids, that's not constructive criticism. If he was in the room, you know what I mean? You can't say to him, "Justin, you're rubbish." What you need to say to him is, "Justin, the bass line in that song, it needs to be worked a bit more." You know what I mean? Or,
love this.
You know what I mean? It's just crazy. Just saying it's rubbish, that doesn't help him. And the same with One Direction. And kids can be quite mean about boy bands and stuff like that. But I just think, no, you're meant to be constructive in your criticism. If you don't like One Direction, tell them how to improve.
I love that.
And that's important. But kids struggle to see that. Sometimes they just fire an emotional, "Oh, it's rubbish," and they don't really. That doesn't help.
And that's why it's so powerful to have a teacher like you to explain that to them and to break that down to them, like give it constructive criticism, because that is something that is so reflective right the way through life, that you need to be able to give constructive criticism. And that, I know when I was in leadership many years ago, I was this like happy leader and I wanted everybody to be happy all the time. And one of the reasons that we weren't growing as quickly as we otherwise could, and this is going back sort of 6, 7, 8 years ago, one of the reasons that we weren't growing as quickly as we could is because I was just trying to make everybody happy. And within that, I was able to, but I wasn't confident as I could have otherwise been in giving people constructive feedback. And that's one of the things that I've had to overcome, is giving people constructive criticism and going, "I really like the way you do this, I need you to do this better because this is going to be the impact, and this is the impact that it has on the business and the operation." Exactly,
yeah, because people need to grow. They need to feel to get some sort of constructive criticism. I
wish I had a teacher like you, by the way. I wish.
It is important. We often do fear giving any kind of criticism if we want to just make people happy all the time. But it's actually not good. Like when you watch X Factor, somebody comes on and they're terrible, and you think, surely they would have sung that to their friend or to their mother or to their father or to their brother, but all those people didn't want to do them down. They said, "Oh yeah, lovely song, yeah, go ahead to X Factor," when what they should have said was, "You're not ready for X Factor yet because you need to work on those upper notes in that middle bit. It was completely, the tuning wasn't tight enough. You need to listen to the record a few more times, record it, come back, sing it to me again, and we'll work together to get the tuning right. You know, and then they wouldn't go on TV then and show themselves up in front of the nation, which usually.
How do you go about teaching those fine-tuned elements, those specific things about tuning, you know, those kind of like higher level concepts with primary school children who are 5, 6, 7?
Yeah, I talk to them about listening to themselves when they're say singing and I say the tuning there it's not quite right, because they'll sing, say, a melody line, say they're singing Twinkle Little Star, and I'd play it on the piano, or I'd sing it back to them and say, that is what it must sound like. Now, you sing it again, and I'd say, now, can you tell me, was that better or worse than the last time? And you can gauge from them then where their level of understanding of tuning is. Like if I play a note and I say, sing that note, and if they can sing it, then I know that they've got an understanding of what they hear and how that translates to the physical aspect of how to create that sound. Because sometimes I play a note and I'll say, sing that note, and they'll make a sound and they'll go, is that it? And I go, can you not tell if that is it? You know, you should be able to know whether the sound you just made matches that sound. And then if you keep working with them, eventually they get it. Like when you play a note, and then they're close and they go, oh wait, that's not it, and then they'll change it, and then they'll go, that's it, isn't it? And I go, yes, that's it, because the understanding does come. Sure. Because it's connecting what you hear with how to physically create that sound. Yeah. And that takes a while for young people to get it, of those who don't naturally get it. Yeah.
What's the best thing about being a music teacher?
The best thing is just seeing a child, the development from a child that, say, can play nothing, you know, when you give them a piece of music and they can't play it at all, to be able to hear them even just play a line of it, a couple of notes, just seeing the progress, and just seeing the joy of them when they say, look, I can play the first line now, you know, and how excited they are, and they won't leave you alone until you hear them do it, because that sense of achievement, just seeing that enthusiasm, that's really good. And seeing the final result in a concert, something like that is great, when they're working on a piece, and as you say, I'm in front of them conducting in the concert, and I think this is that line coming up that they could never get right, and when they do it and they nail it, you know, and you see them all smile and look at you because they know that's the one they couldn't do before, and it's a really good feeling. Yeah,
it's absolutely sensational, and that's one of the powerful things about the arts, isn't it? Is that you can physically see it and hear it.
Yes.
It's just one of the things that just shines through, because it's kinesthetic, it's audio, it's
so emotional.
It's very emotional. It creates a vibrancy.
It does.
Which you don't necessarily get in some of the sort of core subjects. Like you've got to kind of like go in and understand it, and
yes, and it's very kind of logical and just very kind of like that. Whereas music is like an emotional connection. Not only is it, you know, it requires a certain amount of accuracy, but it's when that accuracy is achieved, it brings out certain feelings. Say if it's a song about love, that brings out that emotion. A song about kindness brings out that emotion. You know, a lot of the songs, say if it's a song about achieving your goals, like I wrote a song once called Goal Setter, which the kids really love, and I think it's because when they're singing it, or a song like Let It Go, it's that similar thing about your own power and striving to achieve. And this song Goal Setter talks about that, saying I can be anything I want, I'll work hard and I will succeed, doesn't matter how long it takes, all that matters is I'm true to me, you know. And when it's got, I know
by the way, I need to hear this record, I need to hear it. You send me it, right?
Yeah, I'll send you it. I've got a copy of it on the school laptop.
Thank you.
And so when the kids sing that, you can just see them, that song is empowering them, and they're feeling the power of those words, and the tune is really, you know, catchy and really bouncy, and it's got a good beat to it, and it all comes together to create this, you know, this magic, you know. And it's very important that the kids are singing, you know, songs that are empowering as well as songs that they just like, you know. It's important.
How does what you do and what you teach in music link to success in wider life and how would you respond to a parent or a teacher or school that says, well, music isn't important because it doesn't link to anything else if they don't want to become a musician?
Well, I'd say that music is very important because there are certain skills in there that they learn, especially things like the power of practice. Rehearsing, so say you're working on a piece of music, going over it, the repetition, getting it wrong, working on it a bit more, getting it wrong, working on it a bit more, teaches the patience and the perseverance, and that translates definitely to later in life. You're working for a company, when you're working for a car company, and they say, this is how you tune an engine, and you think, oh, can't quite get it right, and keep going until you get it. Or if you're working in a restaurant and they say, this is how you prepare, this is how you cook a certain meal, and you can't quite get the ingredients right, and you just keep going until you can do it. So music does teach that skill, the patience, the perseverance, because you can't just pick up a piece of music, play it straight off perfectly unless you're Mozart or someone like that. You know, most people, even me, have to go over it slowly, taking it in, and it also teaches that fact that the brain cannot just take in huge chunks all at once. You can't just pick up a piece, play it beginning to end, and because you just play it badly, and then just play it again, beginning to end, you just play it badly again. I teach the kids, you've got to break it into small sections so the brain can digest it bit by bit. Just play 3 notes, perfect those 3 notes, play another note, and that translates later in life. You know, if you've got to learn a skill, whatever job it is, just to learn it bit by bit. Don't try to be a master at that skill that your bosses need you to master. Don't try to master it overnight. Spend some time chunking little chunks of it bit by bit. And music also teaches kind of the importance of teamwork. If you're playing in a band and you're, say, the guitarist, you don't want to be overshadowing, you know, everyone else, so that the audience can only hear the guitar. There needs to be a balance. So it teaches balance in teamwork, and that you don't want to outshine everyone. You want to work together with your team to build the company up, so the strong team has strong players, as it were, and a strong band has strong players, but they're all even, and you work together to create the overall effect, rather than always trying to be the solo. I want everyone to hear my guitar, but that spoils the overall effect.
That's so remarkable that you say that, because it's something that school leaders, for example, it's something that I've experienced in leadership, in terms of seeing that in actuality, in actual office vibrancy and culture, in terms of one person trying to overshadow others, or people going, that was my idea, and it's like, who cares?
I know, things
Did you
like
get the result? Yeah,
bingo, exactly. It's kind of like when sometimes like in teaching, you know, sharing your lesson plans. You know, if you come up with a really good scheme of work, a really good lesson, you know, one should share it with the other teachers, instead of saying, no, I spent 4 hours preparing, that is mine. You know what I mean? No, we are J&C, you know, we are a team. We will work together. We should share our resources and build ourselves up to build, you know, so we have a strong J&C team. We have a strong company, and I think that that's really important. And
but also, just to hook on to that point as well, is beyond a company culture. It's like, what are you in education for, almost, or what are you in life for, and what is your life vision? Because if it's anything that's contributing to impacting wider society, then it's almost like it provokes the thought of, okay, so why would you not, unless you're trying to do something that is confined and within yourself, and unless you're trying to sell a particular product or whatever it is, if you can't sell it, why would you hoard it?
Yes.
If you're trying to impact children and you think that what you're doing is impactful, then why would you not share it? If you're
exactly, that's right. If you think it's having an impact, you know, why would you not want to share it? Surely you want all kids to have that.
Not just kids that you teach, right?
You know, you want all kids to be winners. You know, not just yours, so they can say, "Oh, look at all these kids; they're my winners." But that's not, you know, that's not right, is it? You know, you want everyone. You know, and so it is important. And also, I found in music. When you're performing in a concert, you know, you can't say you're singing a song in a concert, or the choir, you're singing the song together in this concert. You can't sing it badly and go, oh sorry audience, that was bad, let's do it again, and then do it again and go, oh sorry audience, we'll try it again. It's got to really, the audience expect it. In the culture of going to watch a performance, the culture is we expect it to be right first time, you know. In One Direction are performing, we expected them to have sung it right the first time, and that shows the ability, and that shows why it's important to rehearse. And the rehearsal, getting things right first time is important. Say you later in life and you're working for a company, you come up with a product, and the company needs to present that to a prospective client. Say I don't know, say you're working for a car company and you come up with a new form of car indicator, and you think that BMW would be interested in it. When you present that car indicator to BMW, you've got to get it right first time. You can't say, oh sorry, we don't have this part, can we just nip back to head office and go and get it? So you just stay there guys, we'll be back in a minute. You know, they need to have rehearsed what they needed, so that, and rehearse what they're going to say, rehearse the spec of it, and you know, and the potential costs, and have all the details. It's got to have been rehearsed so that when they present it, they sound professional. They give the clients the confidence in the product by them showing confidence in the product and showing confidence and delivering it confidently. Because if they're, you know, that if they show any kind of, you know, I'm not quite sure what I'm talking about here, that makes the client feel that it might not be a very good product. They won't. It just subconsciously they'll feel unsettled about that presentation. They'll think maybe the product's not that good, when really it was just the presentation that wasn't very good.
Yeah.
You know.
And what you say about presentation and performance is so powerful, because essentially, if I understand you right, what you're saying is that it's so much wider than just music, but it's actually about performance, and performance is apparent in every phase of life.
Yes.
In whatever professional industry you're working in, you're going to need to perform.
Yes, that's right. You've got to perform, yes.
You know, you have to present yourself in a certain way that connects with the audience.
That's right.
Which might not be thousands of people in a musical show, but it might just be that one person that you need to connect with, that one client or that one colleague or that one director or area that you have. Yeah.
That's right. All about, you know, inspiring confidence in them, and inspires them to buy into whatever you're selling, or buy into you as a person. In a job interview, you've got to sell yourself, so you've got to talk confidently about yourself. And they say, you know, what are your skills and things like that. You got to talk confidently and realize that, and kind of you would draw on that if you had a lot of musical training at school, and you had to stand in front of people and perform, and you realize body language is important when you're performing, eye contact is important, all of that's important in a job interview. The eye contact, body language, showing confidence, making that person think, I really want to work with this person. You know, the same way when you're performing, you think, it makes the audience think, I'd really love to be that person. Aren't they cool?
I went to see the Tina Turner show the other day, and like having that moment is just remarkable. A remarkable show, by the way. So
really?
If you haven't seen it, definitely go and see it.
The Tina Turner show, and Tina Turner was doing it?
No, it's not. It's the theatre.
Okay.
Theatre.
I see. Yeah. Brilliant. Sounds good. I'd like to see it.
About performance, it just reminded me of that. So yeah, the lead girl who plays that is just
phenomenal. Yeah,
it's just phenomenal, and I think it contributes to what you say in terms of just going out there and performing. So whether you're performing to 1,000 people or whether you're performing to just on a one-on-one conversation, it's so important.
Yeah, it is.
How did you become a teacher?
I had a friend who suggested to me, he said, you know, Mark, with your personality, you would be so inspiring to the kids, you know, your passion for music, you know, you would be a really good teacher, really good music teacher. And that's what made me kind of think about it, because I was always really inspired by him and his personality and the way he was, and I felt that if he thought that I would be good at it, it's well worth looking into. And I was a scout as a child. I did Cubs, then Scouts, then Venture Scouts, and then I became kind of like became like an instructor. So I would help out in like scout groups and cub groups, and help them with their abseiling and their rock climbing and stuff like that. And that's when I learned that I really loved working with children. And so when he said to me, you'd be a really good music teacher, I thought, yeah, I do love working with children. I do love music, and I do think I could really help inspire kids and help them develop musically. And I just felt that once you're in a classroom with kids and you have that influence, you can really impact on their their well-being, their sense of self-esteem, self-confidence. And I thought I could help them personally as well as musically. And I just thought, yeah, it would be a really good idea.
Fantastic. We often think of, you mentioned confidence a lot, and we often think of confidence as this sort of soft skill that is kind of an undercurrent of all of the other sort of hard skills, or the skills that are more discussed, like the more technical skill.
Yeah.
And I did a speech at Toastmasters the other day, and it was around inviting people to reshape their understanding of personal development versus professional development. And whilst I was writing that speech, I did some research, and I found that, and they did a study at the Carnegie Institute, and what they found was that 85% of financial success was due to the emotional skill of what they call human engineering, what I often call human connection, as opposed to, in comparison to just 15% being as a result of technical skill. So what I was saying in the speech is, like, the reason that many people have this hang up of, you often hear from peers or whatever going, oh, I'm so upset that person got the job and I'm so much technically better than her or him. And it's because they've got that emotional connection.
And that's something that needs to be promoted a lot more in schools. Having creating emotional connections with people so they want to work with you, and becoming, they say that the Beatles, not only they weren't when they first started, they weren't the greatest musicians, but their manager, when he saw them, he thought, I could really get on with these guys are cool, these are the kind of people I would just want to be around, whether they were musicians or not. I just would want to be around these people. So, and that was a driving force of their success. And just when you go to the concerts, when they say, when you would go to a Beatles concert and John Lennon or Paul McCartney was talking to the audience, you actually felt like you knew them, like they were your friend.
Sure.
You kind of warmed to them, and that was part of the success. And those are skills that are really, really important.
Yeah, for sure. It's like a little bit like Bob Marley, isn't it? Because he wasn't necessarily a technically great singer. No. He just connected.
Definitely, exactly. And the same with Louis Armstrong, technically, vocally, it's kind of all over the place, but it just reeks of emotion. It's so human. You're actually hearing a real person singing, not someone who was, trained you must sing like this and sing like this. It's a natural sound, and it just feels natural. And I think it's important that children are kind of taught, to have a humanness, a kind of a naturalness about them, not to be fake, because those kind of qualities people are not easy with. It's better to have that openness and just that self-confidence. Like you say, how self-confidence is often kind of dulled down as not very important. All that matters is how good you are at the thing you do.
Absolutely.
But like you say, the 85% of when you've mastered that skill, the people skills, that is so important.
You've had a lot of experience, and one of the advantages that you have is that you've had a lot of experience working in primary schools and secondary schools. And one of the things that I think about quite a lot is that we have such a wide-ranging experience, because we go into different schools all the time and even throughout the week, whereas many teachers don't necessarily have that. They stay in a school for 4 or 5 years or however long, and throughout a career they can only work in like 4 schools, whereas teachers like yourself, you might work in 2 or 3 schools throughout a week.
Yes.
What's it like working in different schools, and how do you find that experience?
I really like seeing the contrast of different schools. It keeps me fresh, when I walk into a new school, it's like a fresh start. I think, if you can it gives you a chance to kind of improve on anything that you did. You thought, oh, I did this in my last school and that was really good, but what would have been even better is if I had done this as well. And so that gives you the chance to do it in another school, and just seeing the different dynamics. When you go into, say, some schools and the kids are, say, really not very confident, really shy, and then you go into a school where they're really confident, and you think, what's making these kids really confident, and how can I, say, bottle that and infuse it into the kids that are less confident?
I'm gonna hook onto that point because that's quite powerful. How do you think the culture of a school affects how confident children feel when you walk in?
Good question. I think I think that when I often go into a school, sometimes like the catchment area, the economic climate of the area may have an impact. I often find that the schools where a lot of the kids are really, really confident, say musically, or just confident people when they're talking, I tend to find that they come from catchment areas where maybe the parents are quite affluent, maybe the parents are professionals in some way, and I think the kids maybe have learnt that from their parents, the fact that one should be confident, one should work hard, one should study at school, because say their father is a doctor or a lawyer, the father would have had to have got good grades at school, would have had to have gone on to college, university, studied to be the doctor, and they've just seen their parents they see their parents as workers, and their parents would have said, oh, I went to so-and-so university, and that subconsciously tells a kid that's something I need to be doing, or I got good grades at school, and the kids would think, oh, I want to be like mummy and daddy, I want to have good grades at school, I want to go on to university, I want to, have a good job like them. They want to follow in their mother's footsteps. And I think that a lot of the kids, when I go into a school where the kids are really confident, really studious, really respectful to me as a teacher, because they kind of respect professionals, because they respect their parents who were professionals, and I think that maybe, I don't know, speaking out of turn, but maybe in the schools where the kids are less respectful and they're not so studious, not so confident, it's because maybe that's learnt, maybe they're not getting that role model of back at home, maybe. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong.
How
I don't know.
does leadership affect that? So let's say you're a head teacher, or how does a head teacher of a school in a economic environment that isn't affluent, how does leadership and what they do to create that culture impact how the children feel and how they behave in terms of their self-confidence?
So you're saying, how does, like, if you're in a school where where they have less confidence and less, how is the culture of the school impacting on that? Or
what I'm saying is, have you ever been in a scenario in a school where you had, I don't know, maybe a new head teacher come in, for example, and traditionally speaking or historically speaking, the children have been not so well behaved, not so self-confident, the economic climate in the surrounding area isn't necessarily high, and a new head teacher comes in, changes the culture of the school essentially, and that's really starting to resonate with the children and the teachers and the staff and how they behave. Have you had that experience?
Yes, I have. The leadership is very important. A new head, new vision coming in with a new positivity, new drive, and a new belief, and instilling a belief into the kids that it doesn't matter where you come from, doesn't matter what your background is, doesn't matter what your gender is, doesn't matter at all. All that matters is now. The moment is now. This is your moment. Every day you're at school, this is your moment. It doesn't matter what happened in the past. The past is the past. It doesn't matter about your background. All that matters is the future that you can create for yourself. And they kind of instill that into them, and they're constantly giving, motivational talks, saying, a bit like the words of my song, The Goal Setter, that you can be anything you want. It doesn't matter if your parents had struggled, it doesn't matter what has happened in your family, none of that matters. All that matters right now is what you can achieve, and that you are the master of your life. You are the captain of your ship. Nobody pilots your ship. Nobody can say which way you steer. You steer where you want to steer. And when they give that message, once a child has started to understand and believe it, it's when they believe that they are in control. Once they've got that belief, they can excel, and you start to see the school turn around when that belief is starting to seep into the kids, that they are the masters of their life and that they can change.
That's a really important point that you make, because that self-confidence is vital to the transformation. It's foundational.
Yes.
Everything that you explained there is just like right on the money, right on the hook of success, transformation, growth. And schools, we often talk about growth mindset in schools.
Yes.
And it's like, if you have people like yourselves that do have a growth mindset, that are aspirational, that are intelligent, that are creating that self-belief and building that self-confidence in pupils. You're a music teacher, but it's like whether you're teaching music or maths, it's the same conceptual thought process.
Yes, exactly. It's very important to constantly reassure children that they can do anything. I believe anyone can do anything given time. Like, I've never worked for NASA or any space institution at all, but I believe I could build a space shuttle given time. If I was told, they say you pick up the spanner and you need to bolt that bolt to that, I could do it given time. I believe anyone could do anything. Absolutely. And given time. And the children, when you tell the child, just keep playing it over, your brain is working it out. You might feel you're not getting better, but you are getting better. It's a lot of stuff is going on subconsciously, and reminding the kids that they have this subconscious mind where the brain is constantly working things out. Because you could be in a maths lesson and not understanding a word of it, then you're suddenly in the playground and all of a sudden, boom, I get it. It's just sudden. Yes,
I've been there.
I've been there too.
I tell people a story a lot of when I was training football, and my coach, his name was Joseph de Graaf, and I never forget it, because we were playing like zonal football and zonal passing or whatever, and then he said, stop. He said, Jazz, work it out mathematically. He said, how many yellow bibs are over there? And I went, 3. I'm being hypothetical. He went, 3. And he went, how many yellow bibs are over there? And I went, 1. He went, so where do you make your pass? And I was like, right, got it, yeah. Like, this is maths. And that experience made me think so much more positively about math. That literally, I was doing my GCSEs at the time, or about to do my GCSEs, and I remember I got like a C or a D in the mocks, and then like I just drilled into focus mode after that in maths, and I understood it in a different way, in which I ended up getting a B and ended up doing much better than what I otherwise would have.
Yeah, well done. Yeah.
It's just like mastery in terms of what you do in the artistry, or what you do in the artist world, or what you do in the real world, in terms of those real life experiences, really does impact how you feel and how you perform in the academic sense.
Yes, it does.
And that's the reason that I set up the company, essentially, is because I wanted people to really understand that you have to get a balance between that academic intelligence and that artistic intelligence in order to really be able to perform in the ways that is most powerful for you.
Yes, exactly. It's kind of like what I was saying before about the power of practice. You've learned to play a piece on the piano, learning to sing a song, and you're struggling with it, and you keep working at it, and then you think, and then all of a sudden it starts to come, and then you suddenly realise, will that subconsciously you'll start to to make the connection that maybe that would work with maths as well. If I keep working on these equations, maybe I'll get it. The same way I kept working on that song.
Yes.
I got it. Maybe that's how it works. Maybe you have to just keep working until you get it.
Yes.
Maybe, and they make the connection. They suddenly translate it. They say that some of the kids who were very musical, when I was growing up in school, most of the kids who played instruments were in the higher sets.
It's incredible.
It's incredible, and I think that's because they've subconsciously learnt the connection that working on your violin piece and achieving greatness from working at it will translate to maths, science, English, and it's the persistence and dedicating yourself to it and just keep going and not giving up, and that translates to all the subjects, and I think it's hammered home strongly in musical development.
It's a really constructive insight. Really constructive. Right, so we're going to dig in, and we're going to go through first of all, I would love to have had a teacher like yourself.
Thank you.
In primary school. Wow, what you've shared and your experiences, your thoughts, your insights about how music translates through thought processes, feelings, emotion and performance. It's just literally remarkable. So I want to thank you for coming down.
Thank you.
Before we fly out, I've got a few quick fire round questions for you, just for the audience to get to know you a little bit better, for me to know you a bit better as well. So I just want you to say sort of the first thing that comes to your mind when you hear the following questions.
Yes, okay.
Okay, perfect. So, proudest moment as a teacher?
Proudest moment was when a class was struggling to I was trying to play I was playing it was Love Is All Around, wet, wet, wet. I feel it in my fingers. And I remember I was trying to get a group to play the chords, a group to play kind of the bass line on some keyboards, and a group to put the drums, and a group singing. And it was, they could do it individually, the keyboard, the chord people could do it by themselves, and like the bass people could do it by themselves, but it wasn't gelling as a class. And then after doing it a few times, and I remember just as the head teacher walked in, that's when they just suddenly did it brilliantly, and the head teacher was like, "Wow, it's Davis! That's amazing!" And I was like,
walked in like
20 minutes ago.
What a disaster!
What a disaster! But I remember thinking, guys, that was amazing. That was one of the best times I'd ever heard a class play. That was one of the best renditions of a class playing that, and they did it right at the right moment as well. And that was really good.
Amazing. Most challenging moment as a teacher?
Very challenging. I find when you have, say, a student who, I once had a student I think it's in secondary school. Yes, it was in the secondary school, and this student, it was just so hard to get that child to just engage in the subject, and they were constantly challenging it. I remember I was covering a lot of RE lessons in that school, and this kid was just very kind of anti-religion and was like, why do I need to learn about RE? I want to be a mechanic. What's RE got to do with being a mechanic? And it was kind of getting that kid to understand that we live in a multicultural society, and the world is becoming more the country is becoming more multicultural, the world is becoming more multicultural, isn't it? You go into certain countries, and sometimes you can't tell what the indigenous people are because it's so mixed. And I was just really trying to get that kid to understand that even if you're working with cars, some of the customers that you have will be of different faiths, and to have that understanding about them just to have that, not just your customer but just people, just to have an understanding that when somebody walks past and they're wearing some sort of headgear, to know why they're doing it, just makes you, just enhance, just makes you feel comfortable around people that are different to you.
Sure.
And we need to feel comfortable around each other because we live around each other.
Absolutely. What's the latest book that you've read?
The latest book, I'm really into kind of motivational kind of stuff like that. So last book I read was called The Secret, and by Bob Proctor and Rhonda Burns.
We're going to move on to the next one. So The Secret, fantastic. What is your favourite holiday destination?
Favourite holiday destination? I tend not to go abroad. When I like something, I think most people like the sea, and I just like to go to the seaside, anywhere where I can see the sea and just hear the waves and stuff like that. So where do I normally go? It would tend to be places like Bournemouth, Blackpool, places like that.
Brilliant, really insightful. And last but not least, so you become the head teacher of a multi-academy trust. You can only implement one thing as part of your vision. What's that one thing?
As part of my vision?
What's the focus point of the school?
I think the important thing that if you can only instill, can say one thing in the vision, it's just to get those kids to have that sense of self, either self-motivation or self-belief. I think maybe the belief is everything. I think making children believe in themselves. I think if you can get every child to believe in themselves, then what you teach them that doesn't matter so much.
It's foundational.
Yeah, it's foundational. Yeah,
absolutely. And if you had to choose primary or secondary, what would you choose?
At the moment, I felt that primary has been the most positive experience. I don't know, maybe I've just been unlucky in the secondary world, but I don't know if I ever said to you, but I've been saying to a lot of the JNC teachers and a lot of the schools that I've been in, that this has been the first Christmas in about 5 years where I have left to go on the Christmas holiday and really been looking forward to coming back. You know, this is the first, you know, the first time that it's in like 5 years, this coming back this January.
Yeah.
This is the first time I felt, yeah, I really want to come back because I like my schools, I like my company, I like JNC, I like my agency, I like the schools that I'm in, and it's felt, and I never got that.
I appreciate it. I'm so glad that you're part of the team as well. You really bring that level of charisma, energy and enthusiasm that we just love. And it just transfers so powerfully to the students and to the schools that you work in. So I'm really, really grateful for that, and really grateful that you're part of our team.
Yes, my pleasure. Thank you for having me on the team.
No,
Thank you.
Last one. So if you were to have to inspire an aspiring teacher to go into teaching, someone's going into teaching, they've just graduated, what would you say to them to really focus on to become the best version or the best teacher that they can possibly be?
I think try to make instill your passion for your subject into the kids. Try to get them, if you can get them to love your subject as much as you love it, you know, then you're doing well. Get them to believe in themselves, because that's really important, their self-belief, because they believe in themselves, they will work hard at your subject and they will believe they can achieve in it. But also try to get them to just love your subject, whether it's what they want to do later in life or not, and just, you know, get them to love it. Okay.
So powerful. Mark Davies, thank you very much, and we'll look forward to seeing you again soon.
Okay, thank you, Jazz. Thank you for having me. Thank you.